Game review.
Okay, Jono, thanks to the kind folk over at EA Australia. I got to sit down and check out Star Wars Squadrons. Did you happen to cop a code from EA at all?
No, I didn't ask for one. But this game wasn't really on my radar at all until everyone was just like playing it and getting hyped for it to come out, everyone in 8-bit. And I was like, oh no, like I've got all these other games to play, but something about this one just, I had to pick it up. It's been really fun.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Look, I am not a Star Wars nerd at all. Like, I haven't watched any of the films, and I keep getting people saying, "You've never watched a Star Wars movie before? What is wrong with you?" I'm like, oh, it's not my thing, man. I've never been big into Star Wars. But when I copped Squadrons, man, I got to tell you what, like, it's really pushed that agenda on me. Like, man, you seriously have to watch these films. The gameplay in this is phenomenal. It really reminds me of, like, if you were playing like an old Galaga game or an old Space Invaders, but they've kind of just amped it up and made it cinematic. It really takes, like when they say, oh, it's out of this world, it really is. It really made me feel like I was flying a spacecraft, especially in VR. VR was sensational. Have you played it in VR?
No, I don't have a VR unit, so I haven't done that. Okay. And I've heard people, like, I know a few people who have VR, but they're preferring to play it outside, I guess, because of the motion sickness that is inevitable.
Yeah. So I will admit there was a little bit of motion sickness. I did feel a little bit seasick at some points when I first started playing. So I got the game pre-launch, and there was no there were certain patches that came out afterwards, but I was playing a pre-patch, and there were a couple of hitches and glitches that happened while I was flying the plane, especially in VR, that I found myself a little seasick. I was trying to, like, the X-wing that I was flying in had a little bit of steering issues, and it was almost like, oh, okay, all right, trying to turn left, and it was a little too sensitive. Trying to turn right, way too sensitive. And I was like, okay, this is getting way beyond anything that I can comprehend or handle right now, so I've got to take this off. So I played in standard, TV mode, and I found it to be quite enjoyable. There was still some bugginess that happened, but after they patched it, I think it was 1.04 last week.
Right.
Everything was pretty much clean. It was a tighter experience, and I had a lot of fun. Just getting into it and really enjoying the narrative. As someone who's unacquainted but knows the baseline story, some of the more important cliff notes of Star Wars, sure. I could appreciate what was being told within the narrative. As someone, obviously, you've watched Star Wars, as someone who appreciates it a little more than what I would, what are your thoughts on the entire experience and the narrative?
Yeah, so I'm probably 6 missions into the campaign. I don't know how many there are, but I haven't finished it because I've mostly been playing multiplayer for the last few nights. And the story's fine. Like, they've done a seemingly they've placed it within the canon.
It's canonical,
story
yeah.
At a certain point, like, I think it's part of it happens after. From memory, I think part of it happens after, like, episode 4, and then the rest of it happens after episode 6, I think. Yeah. That's what I gathered. And that's interesting. It kind of gives you the context of, what's happening in the world, which I think most people who play the game would have that context. And yeah, I guess getting to see, not that your character has any voice or personality. Yeah, it's a voiceless protagonist, which is, that's a little disappointing. And I guess I'm nitpicking because it's a $50 game over here. It's not, they didn't put an incredible amount of effort into the character customization and that kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, as a means to giving the missions a bit of agency and context, I think the story does just a fine job. Really, it is mostly about those experiences of the gameplay and flying around and getting to feel like you're one of these characters, like kind of like a side character in the movie. You know, that there's a lot of you get a lot of shots of these different characters in the Rebels throughout the original trilogy, especially of them, you know, in a campaign shooting down, you know, other TIE fighters and stuff, and they're characters that don't really get any backstory or anything. They're just kind of there to tell the story of that fight.
Yeah.
So to feel like you're controlling one of those characters is kind of cool, and whether it's creating your own stories in your head or playing through that narrative and reacting to the characters that are just put in front of you is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is all about that kind of vibe, because there's no planetary campaigns. It's all space, which I wish there kind of was, you know, something down on the planet, which I had thought maybe it would be a DLC, but they've announced there's no DLC. So I guess if you want that, you have to go to like Battlefield 2 or something for that type of thing. But yeah, they've done such a great job of, you know, not like you're flying around in a ship, like that's a tick. But then they've added elements to the gameplay that make it a bit more challenging, whether it's, you know, prioritizing your booster to your shields or to your engines or to your blasters, to your lasers, and having to make those kinds of choices, and having a bit of variance between the two different sides, as well as each individual ship. You know, there's 4 on each side. Like, everything feels unique, and there's a technique and a strategy if you're playing online to picking each one and looking at who else is on your team and how you fit together. So yeah, for something that's quite a simple game, it is a lot of there's a lot of thought that's gone into that kind of thing. Yeah, and it kind of takes me back. Like, it's the first game I've played like a space shooter like this since Wing Commander. I think 4 on like the PS1, which had like funnily enough had Mark Hamill like as the main character. Yeah, and in my head, like, you know, when you think back to PS1 games, they're so much more than what they really were. But in my head, like, this is what it was like to like be there, and it was like a 3D thing where you take off from your like mothership, and then you're out in space and you're trying to shoot down your enemies and return to base. So it's that cool like sense of like, I'm in space and I can go anywhere I want and approach this however I want. I can fly upside down, I can do a barrel roll. Like, you can just, it's awesome. You just have that freedom, and that's what's really cool about it.
It's quite a versatile game. I enjoyed there was certainly a great detail. There was for somebody who, like I said, I'm unacquainted, but I kind of gave it to my dad, who loves his Star Wars, and I told him, put on the headset, see what you think, and he was like, wow. He goes, this is precise, it's exact, you know. If anything, like, I think the word that he used was it embellishes what we would perceive as the cockpit of an X-Wing, and it really kind of personifies how you would utilize all its controls. It's broad scheme and everything else. And man, like I said, as somebody who really doesn't appreciate the series as much as somebody who would, like a devotee of it, like somebody who's really an enthusiast of the series, like, I've heard nothing but positive things. You did mention about the narrative. I did make a point within my review on the website that the narrative was the weakest point of the game. The gameplay is just phenomenal, though. It's a lot of fun to play, and I've noticed that you guys over at 8-Bit have been having nights where you're kind of getting together playing multiplayer as well. So obviously there's a lot of fun aspects actually jumping online and playing with friends as well.
And being completely cross-play has been awesome, because I'm on PS4. Benny and Brendan are on PC.
Nice.
My friend Jared from Rainbite's on PS4. So we've been playing together, and because it's EA and it just uses that EA ID, you can just play seamlessly, and that's been really cool. And I mean, it is quite hard to play in some of those online features. Like, we've honestly lost the majority of matches we've played. Okay. And there's some absolute freaks out there, I tell you what. Like,
they absolutely love it.
Like, I've been playing for a week most nights, and I'm level 14.
Yeah.
We played against someone the other day that was level 131.
Jesus Christ.
Who must have just literally been playing since it came out without putting it down. He destroyed us. This guy, his name is Namaste TV. If you want to look him up, he was streaming at the time that he destroyed us. And after the match, I quickly punched it into Twitch and went over and watched his stream. And sure enough, everyone in the chat was making fun of us.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, it is available now. Make sure you guys go pick up your copy of Star Wars Squadrons. Thanks to EA Australia, who kindly provided dashdown.com with a review code on that one.